Hello, the Secrets to Sleep Baby and Toddler Sleep Help group. My name is Courtney. I'm a pediatric sleep consultant, meaning that I help families get a really good night of sleep so that they can enjoy the time that they have with their little ones. I have rescheduled this live from another day to do it today because I had like a cold and my throat was just raw, and I was like, I'm just never going to get back at this rate. So I was like, Monday would be good. So I'm feeling a lot better. I do still have some congestion, but 'tis the season, isn't it? Post below if your baby is sick right now, because I know that there are so many babies sick right now. So challenging. If you haven't seen it, the Sickness, Teething, and Milestone Live, I think, is still pinned to the featured. Facebook Lives are available in the group for 1 month period of time. So if you haven't seen that one, I definitely recommend it because I think it's a really great one for this time of year especially. Okay. I'll just, maybe introduce myself. Sometimes I think I forget to do that part, but my name is Courtney. I live in kind of Vancouver area, so technically called Surrey, British Columbia. I've been doing doula work for like a very long time, like 8 years of doula work, so just lots and lots of one-on-one time with babies. And then I trained a few years ago as a pediatric sleep consultant with a very attachment-based parenting style of sleep consulting. So so that's my little background there. I have 2 kids. My daughter is 4 and my son is 7. So that's a little bit about me. Post below the ages of your kids and some of those things, just so we can kind of connect, feel like this is a little bit of a back and forth conversation and not just me talking at you. Okay, so this is a fun live. I'm really excited to do this one. I've decided to tailor my lives to what questions I get asked over and over again, because I feel like that's a really good way to go. So the last live on Sickness, Teething, and Milestone was just because people are like, my baby is sick, what do I do now? And this is like a question of, do I need to sleep train my baby? And I just think this is such a good question. So if you've asked me this question or you have this question, good on you. This is a great question. Like, let's delve really deep into sleep training, what it is, what the purpose of it, and whether you should or shouldn't do it, or, like whether it matters, okay? Okay, so the purpose of sleep training is for a baby to learn how to self-settle, okay? Self-settle and self-soothing are 2 terms. They both have maybe similar but different meanings. To self-soothe usually means actually to be able to calm oneself down after being upset. So if a baby is crying, to self-soothe would be for them to be able to stop crying on their own. To self-settle, technically the term means to be able to fall asleep independently. So independently doesn't mean apart from co-sleeping, something like that. Independently means going from the awake state to the sleep state on your own, okay? That is what that means. So these are the terms I'm using just so that I think it's really important, because if I use the term self-settling and you think I'm talking about self-soothing, like there's a very large difference there. I'm not talking about a baby comforting themselves from crying. I'm talking about a baby being able to fall asleep without help. Okay, the term sleep training. So what this means is a proven method to get a baby to stop relying on a parent's help to fall asleep. Another way of saying is to self-settle, okay? A proven method to help babies learn how to self-settle, okay? If you want to know about techniques, all the different techniques, I just did a 4-part series all about the top 6 methods of sleep training. If it's something that you want to know more about, just you want to be an expert on sleep training, and that's what you want to do, you can post below. I did a 4-part series in November, and I have like a little like course, which is just like a collection of the different lives I did. So if you want that 4-part series live course that I have, it costs $12 Canadian. So if that's what you're interested in, post below. I want to watch the 4-part series on sleep training. Post that below, and I will send you the link, and you can join that course. Okay. I did the different methods that involve a lot of crying, methods that you can be there, attend to your baby while your baby's crying, and then methods that are more gentle methods. I did a 1-part just on my methods, just because obviously they're my favorite. Okay, so let's go into this. So sleep training. Do I need to sleep train? Sleep training has a really bad rap, okay? And this is because traditional methods of sleep training involve a lot of crying. Okay? And this is where, as more of like a gentle sleep consultant, people say this to me all the time. I don't want my baby to be, just like hysterically crying, and I'm just like out of the room with my headphones on pretending it's not happening, right? I just like affirm that right now. You don't have to have your baby screaming and like being away from your baby for them to learn how to self-settle. It's not a requirement. And like the desire that you have to comfort your baby and attend to your baby is normal and good, and there's nothing wrong with that. So this is where I'm like, feel free to always go and comfort your baby. You have my permission. You don't need my permission. But I just know that like lots of sleep consultants, I know that sleep consultants even consider some of their methods gentle, and then they tell people, but you can't attend to your baby. You have to let them just sit there and cry, right? It's like, no, in my methods, you can attend to your baby. To answer the question, do I need to sleep train? So here's where I want to shift people's focus, right? So milestones, okay? Milestones are different things that each and every person will hit at some point in time, right? So rolling over, every baby, we're thinking, biologically normal babies, maybe not someone with obviously a severe disability, something like that, right? Because then, well, maybe that person won't stand and walk, but we're thinking, the average baby, okay? They're all going to roll over. They're all going to sit up. They're all going to stand, okay? Another milestone that you probably have not thought about is actually to self-settle, which means to fall asleep. It's a milestone. This is something that every single human on the planet will learn at some point in time. I personally lay in my bed and I close my eyes and I fall asleep independently. It is a milestone that I actually had to learn at some point in time. So this is where when people say, do I need to sleep train? They're referring to traditional sleep training methods. Do I need to use a traditional sleep training method to teach my baby to self-settle? No, you don't have to use a traditional method. Is the goal for our baby to learn how to self-settle? Like, I think that we should teach our babies to self-settle, because here's the fact. At some point in time, your baby is going to self-settle, right? At some point in time, they're going to learn this skill. They're going to achieve this milestone of self-settling. And this is where I'm like, it is entirely up to you when they learn this skill. So if you would like your baby to learn it at 4 months of age, when their brains have, become developed enough to be able to do this skill, that's one option. Or you can wait until, if you're a rock your baby to sleep kind of a person, you can wait till they're too heavy and you can't carry them anymore. And one day you just give up and you're like, I'm not rocking you anymore. And you put them down and you walk away and, and that's when you decide to break the habit. I think that this is where, it's kind of like trying to like help people kind of realize that like whether you use a traditional sleep training method to break habits and to help your little one learn to self-settle, or you change the way you go about it, in some way, shape, or form, we do have to do something so that our little ones learn to self-settle at some point in time, right? When they're 40 years old, they're probably going to know how to self-settle by that point. This is where I have people say things like, because I tell them, like, yeah, like you would have to stop the rocking, And one of my clients was like, so when my kid's 18, like they're still going to need to be rocked to sleep? And I'm like, no, because some point in time before they turn 18, they're going to get too heavy and you're going to stop. I think that, to me, this is actually shifting the focus off of our kids and just their kind of like learning and their abilities to learn, and like our habits as parents and how we can actually, shift and change habits, right? I think this is a little bit of a tough one because, a lot of people are just waiting it out. And you know what? Like, it's totally up to you, right? Because at some point in time, like sleep consultants work with families all the time with 3-year-olds that are still being rocked to sleep, like all the time. If you don't stop, it will not just stop, right? Like, it's like at some point in time, you probably will stop for whatever reason. So if it makes sense to you to wait until your child is 3 when they're heavy and, kind of just stop then, you know. It can be a little bit easier sometimes when they're 3 because you only have, you know, maybe bedtime, maybe one nap, maybe just bedtime at that age, right? It's totally up to you when and how you go about it. But to me, like, I'll give you the honest truth. If I could go back to when I had my first child, you know, and my second child, my kids are 4 and 7 now, so this is a little bit different. If I could go back, you know, or if I, you know, right now I had another baby, I would go about it differently. I obviously have a very large amount of education in pediatric sleep and babies specifically, but I would be doing a gentle strategy method of sleep training at age 4 months. And the reason why is because we spend a lot of time doing things like rocking or breastfeeding to sleep, and then our babies are waking up again, like really quickly after, and then we have to rock again, and we rock again, and we rock again, and we're tired, and our arms are sore, and it's really tough, and it's also not necessary because it's a habit that we have formed, and, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. So that's where I'm like, I always feel like people make moral statements of like, oh, I know I shouldn't rock, but I do. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with rocking. It's just, if you're not loving it, you don't have to like continue on in this habit that you don't love that's causing a lot of work and a lot of wake ups at night, because it does. If our babies don't know how to self-settle, then they are way more likely to have trouble connecting sleep cycles, and then they're going to wake up more at night. So this is where I'm like, if I could go back and, you know, each kid I have, you know, has a different story of what it looked like. But if I could go back, like with my daughter, she slept really well for a while. So, hey, I nursed her to sleep. Life was good. But I still remember just like, oh my gosh, like I have 2 kids. Like, I don't think I can have any more kids. I just spend so much time rocking. This is really miserable. How did people back in the day have 12 kids? like the amount of rocking I do, rocking, nursing. I would contort myself. I only nursed on one side with my daughter. I don't know why. I guess it just ended up happening that way, that like at a certain point in time it was only the one side. So I always like contorted, and I like slept in a really awkward position like this, like because I was nursing to sleep. And at one point in time, and she was about a year old, I just gave up. I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not nursing you anymore at nighttime. And, you know, that's how I broke off the habit. I was a doula at the time, so I knew a lot more about, you know, some of these things, but I didn't know gentle methods. If I could go back, or if I had a kid tomorrow at 4 months of age, I would put in, you know, the hard work of making changes to our habits, use a gentle method, and, you know, prevent kind of the months and months of rocking, or years and years of rocking or breastfeeding to sleep, and the wake-ups that happen with them, because I know so much more than I did at the time. And to me, I know that most families don't know about, you know, gradual methods of sleep training. So for me, it's like the main concerns are, do my kids have to scream and cry? Like, not necessarily. Like, this is where I'm like, well, you know, any method of sleep training isn't necessarily going to be a absolutely no crying method. But, I mean, there are methods that we can always attend to our babies. We can always pick them up. We can always comfort them. So, like, that's the kind of method I really like to use, you know. But should we make changes to sleep so that our babies can learn how to sleep really well and get a really good night of sleep, so that we can get a really good night of sleep, so that we can be really awesome parents, and so that we can enjoy our time that we have with our babies and our kids? Yeah, I think that we really should, if you want to know my opinion. It's up to each and every person if you want to wait it out. But I mean, I also think that it would be really good to make habits sooner that we have in place, instead of waiting them out and like going through all of this struggle when we could actually be enjoying the time. Like, that's what's really important to me, right? That night of sleep that we don't have, that's challenging, but also just like not actually enjoying our time with our kids because we're so tired. Like, yeah, I think we should, this is why this is called Do I Need to Sleep Train? I think we should use self-settling strategies. You can call them what you want. You can call it sleep training. I often do, just because it's the common term everyone knows. You don't have to use a traditional sleep training method, but a self-settling strategy. At some point in time, you're going to use a self-settling strategy, whether you know you're using one or not. A question I get asked a lot, I'm just going to sip because I start to get a dry throat. Post your questions below, post your comments below. I will comment on them later. The next thing is, do I need to re-sleep train? So this is one question I get quite a bit. Someone's done, a Ferber method at one point in time, the baby got sick or they went on vacation or whatever it is, and then now the baby no longer knows how to self-settle. Do I need to re-sleep train? So that's the thing that I'm like, okay, there's not really a thing of like re-sleep training, but do I need to use a self-settling strategy so that my little one knows how to self-settle because they no longer know how to self-settle because we have now formed habits again that don't allow self-settling? Yes, you do need to. So do I need to use the Ferber method? No, of course not. This is why I actually prefer gentle methods, because guess what? Like, every time our babies get sick, it's really easy to get back into the habits of rocking to sleep, or, if you're a co-sleeping family, it's co-sleeping, or whatever it is, right? And like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, lots of people co-sleep all over the world and they love it and it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, if you don't love it, you don't have to be a slave to the habits that are in your home. You can make changes to the habits that are not working for you. So that's what I think is really important. Do I need to re-sleep train? I think that we need to change boundaries, very gradually, to change the habits in our home so that our little ones can self-settle, so they can sleep well, so we can sleep well. The answer is yes. Call it sleep training, whatever. It doesn't matter, but yes, we should do that. Yeah. So I think one thing I just want to express is that rocking to sleep, nursing to sleep, those things are like short-term gain strategies. It's like, if I rock my baby to sleep, they fall asleep really fast. If I nurse my baby to sleep, they fall asleep really fast. I have people say this all the time. Yeah, it's really easy to get my baby to sleep, but then they also wake up every 2 hours, and I don't know why, And it's because they're actually dependent on whatever it is that they needed to fall asleep. I tell this to all the people I do in my sleep strategy calls. When they wake up in the light point in their sleep, they need something to get back to sleep, right? If they need something at the beginning of the night to get back to sleep, they're going to need it in the middle of the night to get back to sleep. So if it's rocking to sleep, it's rocking to sleep. If it's nursing to sleep, if it's nursing to sleep. For 4 to 8-month-old babies, like soothers, those are culprits. It could be other things. There's definitely other things. And then when you have an older baby, it usually looks more like separation anxiety. If you're not rocking to sleep, you're not nursing to sleep, but there's something waking your baby up, it's often more separation anxiety related. I'll go into kind of the different options to help, because I know it's sometimes having the information of we should really stop rocking our babies to sleep is well, great, but I don't know how, right? So we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah, I just really wanted to think of the amount of time we put into rocking, how hard it is to contour our bodies to breastfeed to sleep, those things. Just because I think that change to these things is really important, and I think it's life-changing. And it's just every time a family that I know, goes from all of these things, all of this work, and the frequent night wake-ups, and then they have that transformation in sleep, it's just so life-changing that I'm I really, the reason I became a sleep consultant was to actually help people make it through these situations so that they didn't have to be doing this for forever, and that they didn't have to be in this situation forever anymore. And that to me is really important, because there is a way out of this. We don't have to keep on, going on with this. We can make changes and we can see a lot of really great results. And I also made a note here that I actually only want to work with families that are really willing to put in a lot of work, because sleep training or using a self-settling strategy, it's a lot of work. This is why I call it a 3 weeks to better sleep program, because you put in a lot of work in a 3-week time period to then after see some really great results with sleep. Anyone who I get into my program, a few days in, they're oh, we haven't seen any improvement yet. Oh no, you haven't, because we're only 3 days into the program, But when we're 2.5 weeks into the program, let's see if we're seeing some improvement then. Because it is not a short-term strategy when we use sleep training or a self-settling method. It is a long-term strategy. So when you rock to sleep or you're nursed to sleep right now, it's really fast, really easy to get them to fall asleep. When we go through the process of self-settling, Like, it takes way longer and way more work because our little ones learn a skill. It's kind of like if I unload my dishwasher, it's really fast. I just do it really fast. But anytime I try to get my kids in on it with me, it's this like long, miserable thing because halfway through they want to do this, they want to do that, they put all the things in the wrong spot. Anytime our little ones are learning skills, it takes way more work and effort from us. And it's the same when we teach our little ones to self-settle. We put in a lot of work and effort, but it's got really great rewards at the end. Yeah. Let's see if I have any other notes that I want to do before I kind of share the ways that we can kind of go about making changes. Yeah, I think the one thing I just wanted to mention too is that to me, that like education piece on pediatric sleep is like really important, and like that's a very main key of like my 3 weeks to better sleep program, because sleep training alone doesn't actually fix sleep problems. Like I said, I've worked with a lot of families that at one point in time they did a Ferber method, things were really great after, but then sickness came, and then suddenly it was all back to where it was before. Like, I actually feel like it's like, come join the 3 weeks to better sleep program, learn a lot about pediatric sleep. You know, we'll put some strategies in place to make changes in sleep, but we will also make sure that you have learned a lot about sleep so that when your child gets sick right after the program, which, I mean, that's what's happening to everyone, that you know how to go about shifting those boundaries back and having your little one, you know, go back to self-settling, you know, after sickness, where we often have to comfort our kids more and help them to sleep more. You know, it's like that education piece to help us get back to that place. So then once that sickness recovers, once that teething stops, once once they start to stand, and then suddenly that shakes things up for a bit, that you know how to go about it. Because all of these milestones they're going to hit, doing a traditional sleep training method can be helpful for a time, but it doesn't actually teach us about sleep. But joining the 3 weeks to better sleep program, it's one of my main goals that people have that just really good understanding of sleep so that they know how to go about things. Because also the last thing is, once you have a toddler, 2-3 years old, self-settling isn't what it's all about anymore. It's more about boundaries, right? And that separation anxiety and that feeling comfortable. And, I'm hoping that all of my clients that have gone through this program have a really good understanding of how to create really healthy boundaries and, how to comfort their little ones, but how to reduce kind of that, parental help to sleep for toddlers, because that's often what it is for toddlers. So it's different in, maybe method and strategy, but it's the same when it comes to like boundaries and how our psychology as humans work. Okay, so yeah, if you have a little one who does not know how to self-settle, we have a few different options for you to join. So if you have not seen, and things are pinned to the featured section, so that's one option, but you can also just post below and I can just like tag you in it. If you rocked your baby to sleep, we have a group call this Wednesday for those who rock their baby to sleep. It's in Pacific Standard Time at 3 o'clock. So if you're able to join that, post below, rock my baby to sleep, and I will tag you in that. You can join that group call. If you breastfeed your baby to sleep, next week on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we have a breastfeed to sleep group call, and that will be all about how you can break the habit very gradually of breastfeeding to sleep. Okay, so you can post that below. I breastfeed my baby to sleep, and I'll invite you to the link for the group call. If you do not fit into those categories, maybe it's I got on a call with someone the other day that it was everything. She was like, I rock and I breastfeed and I sing. You know what I mean? Like all at the same time, If it's something like you don't fit into those categories, or you have a toddler, I was going to say we have an upcoming live. It's this week. I think it's Thursday. I should probably know the time of my own lives, shouldn't I? I think it's Thursday at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I have a live on toddler sleep. You can post below toddler sleep, and I'll invite you to that live. And then I'm going to also develop a group call for toddlers, because I think that toddlers is like just a very different type of thing, and that will be specifically for those who do not breastfeed to sleep and those sort of things, but have toddler challenges. So if it's toddler sleep, you can post below. I'll link you into that live. But yes, if you don't fit into a category of something or the time 3 p.m. Pacific Standard doesn't work for you, post below and I will set you up with a one-on-one sleep strategy call. I will also let you know that more recently joining the group, I've asked if you want to join, do a free sleep strategy call, check your DMs. So I have sent each and every person who said, yes, I want to have a free sleep strategy call, I have sent you a DM. If you have not got it, it's because most of the time it goes to spam. So you have to either check your spam folder or you actually have to send me a DM and say, hey, I'd like to set up a free sleep strategy call. Okay, so you can post below, you can send me a DM, free sleep strategy call, we can set that up. Because to me, it's actually so important that we make changes to these habits because we just don't have to be doing these things anymore. We can be doing things that help us really enjoy the time that we have with our kids. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if there's anything else. I invite every single one of you to join the 3 Weeks to Better Sleep program. I really do think it's the best way to get a really good night of sleep. Sometimes I almost think that it's like people want to do like a call and maybe learn some strategies and maybe kind of have an idea of like, oh yeah, maybe I'll try this or that. Like in order to actually see the changes in sleep that you want, it has to be like a full process of like making sure that you fully gradually break off the habits that are causing challenges to sleep, and you have to get to a point of self-settling. If you don't do all of that and, kind of start breaking off the habit of rocking to sleep or, whatever it is, whatever it looks like, the next thing is that someone goes, okay, I'm not going to rock my baby to sleep anymore. And then they start to feed their baby to sleep. Like, it's not going to work. You actually have to fully break off habits so that babies can self-settle completely on their own for them to connect sleep cycles and sleep really well. So if anyone is just like, you know what, I want to join the 3 Weeks to Better Sleep program, I'm ready. Post below 3 Weeks to Better Sleep, and I will set you up with a one-on-one call. We'll still do it like a sleep strategy call. I think it's really important that you know what the strategy looks like that I would recommend for you and for your family. I tend to pick strategies tailored to like you and your family, what's important to you, but also where you're at with sleep. So that's why it matters if you are breastfeeding to sleep or rocking to sleep, okay? So post below if you're just interested in the 3 Weeks to Better Sleep program. You want to make sure that, 3 weeks from now, I would really love to be not rocking anymore. That would be so good. Or 3 weeks from now, I wouldn't want to be breastfeeding to sleep anymore. Not breastfeeding to sleep anymore does not mean not breastfeeding anymore. It means not feeding to sleep. Very important, very distinct. Or 3 weeks from now, I'd love it for my 1-year-old to actually sleep through the night. Post below 3 Weeks to Better Sleep, and we can set up a call and talk about that program. I really do recommend it. Okay? I think that's everything for today. Post questions, all the things, send me DMs if you want, and I hope you have a really great Monday.